Welcome to the DIY Goalie podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie. Goalies, welcome back to another episode of the DIY Goalie podcast presented by True North Goaltending. We are on episode 61. So again, thank you to all of you guys who tune in, both to the podcast side of things as well as on the YouTube side of things. We very much appreciate it. It's pretty cool to see the listenership slowly growing and kind of getting all across the world. We've got a couple listens in Vietnam and Bangladesh and
Wow.
some weird random places. We even had one in South Africa. I don't know if that was somebody accidentally clicking it or what.
Oh,
But
that's the Kenya ice hockey team. They're reaching out to us.
Yeah, I don't think they're that close to South Africa. I could be wrong. My geography over there is not the greatest. But yeah, so just a reminder, guys, what helps us out a lot is if you guys can leave a rating or a review, share the show with friends. It just helps us kind of get out there, discovered by other goalies. But appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, thank you very much for that. So we are going to dive right into it. We have a new month this month, even though we are, one or two, I guess one episode in already this month, but we couldn't ruin the hot takes with the drill of the month. So we are doing a drill of the month for today's episode. Connor's got one lined up, and this is one that we both really enjoy when it comes to starting an introduction to post play and kind of the overlap position. So I will let Connor take it away, and then we're going to talk about becoming a goalie coach and dive into that. So
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. It's been a fun weekend. True North did the rodeo parade happening in Leduc here in Alberta. So that was a fun time. Glad to be a part of that. This drill, it's good for both kind of the introductory side of things when it comes to post play and overlap, but it's also a good drill for, especially like considering we're in the off season right now, not a lot of goalies are on the ice. And then when you do start to get back into the ice and starting to work on your angles again, this is probably a drill that I would incorporate just because it's simple, it's easy, and it's not you're not overthinking it, if you will, especially for those experienced goalies. And so this drill that we're talking about today, you can find it over on True North Goaltending now, maybe
not quite close.
Not quite close.
Everything that's left is basically me literally just copying stuff over, and I got to make the courses page. So we're close, but pages, I guess. But yeah,
if you're listening to this 3 months from now, truenorthgoaltending.com. If you're listening to this the day it releases, the DIYgoalie.com. It is the dead angle lane drives drill, and this is a good drill because it focuses on kind of just the different angles a forward can take when they come into the offensive zone or into the defensive zone. In this case. So if you are watching over on the YouTube side of things, we do have a diagram of it here. But if you are listening on the podcast, we do have a coach with some pucks just below the blue line, about where the blue line is, as they are entering, as the player would normally enter into the zone.
Against the boards.
Thank you. Yeah. This is my drill of the month here. We do have some cones set up closer towards the boards. One at the top of the circle, one about where the hash marks are, and then another one just below the circle, but just above the goal line. So in this instance, the shooter will come into the zone, and then they can go around one of the three pylons there. One just kind of above the circle, the other one below the hash marks, and then the last one below the circle there. So what this is meant to simulate is obviously the different drives and different angles that a shooter can take when they do come into the defensive zone. As it states here in the description, coach has pucks high just off the boards. Goalie gets set on the coach. Coach takes the puck, drives down the wall, and then attacks through one of the lanes around the cones that are set up and takes a shot. play out the rebound. Goalies have to make small adjustments to follow the coach on these dead angles. If the coach drives to the lowest lane, that's just above the goal line, goalie must maintain the overlap position and stay off the post. So what this is focusing on here is making sure that you're getting those small adjustments, those small shuffles, make sure that you're staying square to the shooter, and then especially when the shooter does go below the circle on that very dead angle, that we want to make sure that we're not getting set up on the post, as that can create open net, especially from that side. Watch Connor McDavid. So we want to make sure that we stay in that overlap position. Generally, that I think it's a inside leg just above the or basically in line with the post there. So then we do maximize the net coverage there. Rebound pops out. Obviously, play it. Key points, very small adjustments as a coach drives down the wall, maintaining that overlap position in front of the post, staying square to the puck. So that is our dead angle lane drive drill. Again, this is good for those smaller goalies that are learning to understand and read angles a little bit better, and as well as getting used to working on their posts or working around their posts. And again, this drill is very, very good for the more elite level goalies, keeping it tame, and just especially when you're coming off of a summer holiday and getting ready for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I find there are so many goalies we work with that just have no idea what to do in and around their post. And in these situations, so when we talk about dead angles, we're basically talking about kind of like the little triangle, I guess, that the bottom of the triangle is kind of the goal line starting at the post. The one side is the boards. And I would argue probably about to the top of the circle, and then you just kind of make the triangle to the middle of the net from there. So that area of the ice is the dead angles, and we call them that because when the puck's there, the net is very small. So from the puck's perspective, just the angle that they have, because they're not straight on the net, what the puck sees is very little net, even when there's no goalie in there. So realistically, goalies shouldn't have any issues covering the net, but what ends up happening is goalies just don't know what to do. And what I find a lot of goalies do is when players drive down the wall, they just suck back to their post and they end up getting kind of caught. Like, so if a shot comes, it's hard to drop into a butterfly if you're against your post, or they end up flattening out along their goal line and open up the far side and just causes a lot of issues. So this is a good drill to kind of get used to playing in front of your post, not defaulting back to that post. And again, like Connor mentioned, those small adjustments, because on the dead angles, the puck has a lot more to move than goalies do to maintain that angle, even more so than when the puck's going east west, like in the middle of the ice. Um, which again, you don't have to move as much as you think you do, but on the dead angles, it's even less. So those are kind of two big things to work on, because I find both things we see a lot of goalies struggle with. They move too much and they suck back to the post, or just really don't know what to do. So I think that's a good one. And in the show notes, we'll link up our episode on post play, as well as our kind of little YouTube video of general rules of thumb when it comes to post play, which kind of touches on some of that stuff too. And as always, the drill will be in the show notes as well. Once the official changeover from the DIY goalie website to the True North one is done, I will go back and change all the show notes links in the descriptions for all the episodes. So if you guys are listening to this in the future, it might be changed to the True North site. So we'll make sure that all that is swapped over properly. But
Yeah.
yeah, good drill
Um, yeah.
for
Thank you.
that sort of stuff. Yeah, good choice.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, like I was just gonna kind of chime in there quickly, just with the sucking back part. Like I find, especially when it gets to that, like it's more like I call it the uncomfortable area. Basically,
Yeah.
when it's that space on like below the circle and above the goal line, right? It's one of those areas where it's like you're so used to just retreating back to the post because that's what kind of what we did for the longest time. And then so getting used to kind of playing in that space just outside the post there is still a relatively ish newer concept there. And so just being able to get used to playing in the uncomfortable area, I think is a good thing.
Yeah. One of the, I think, biggest things that elite level goalies can do is transition in and out of their post really well and
Yeah.
play their post really well. And we've talked about it before. Post play is something that doesn't get worked on enough for the amount of times that goalies are in and out and around their posts. So if you guys like, we've talked about a few skill sets, like skating being one of them, tracking being one of them, but post play is probably up there with one of the more important skill sets that you guys can get good at. So, yeah, drills like this is more of an intro post play drill, but it's a really good starting point to kind of get, familiar and a little bit more comfortable with those dead angles before you actually start working on the in and out of the post. But yeah, definitely a good starting point, and get good at working your post, goalies. That's all I can say.
If
So
I guess I'll throw this out there. If you are a goalie coach, or if you have a drill that you would like to submit as a drill of the month, feel free to send it to us at goalies@truenorthgoaltending.com,
yeah,
and we can throw it in there. So
and we can shout you out and
exactly.
put your stuff in the show notes, assuming we like it. If we don't like your drill, then we'll shame you. But
We'll
I'm just kidding.
publicly well, yeah, we'll publicly
Yeah,
shame you.
publicly shame. All
um
right.
yeah, no. So I guess we're talking about how to become a goalie coach today. And obviously everybody's experience is different when it comes to getting into this profession. Some goalies who have played at the highest level just kind of automatically fall into that kind of thing. For guys like myself and Nathan, I think it comes from a little bit of a different path. So the aim in today's episode is just kind of our experiences getting into it. We've touched on it before in a recent in another podcast, so we won't get into the specifics of it. But I think just kind of the logistics of it, I think, is also kind of the main part of today's thing. But just Nathan and I both have different experiences when it comes to this, so that's kind of the goal for today's episode.
Yeah, and I think it's good to touch on some things that at least we believe make a good goalie coach. Because I think that's another thing too. Like, there are a lot of people out there that are really good, like, players slash goalies, that just aren't good coaches.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people, I think, that would make really good coaches but kind of shy away from it because they didn't play at a specific level. Like, there's no like bar, like it's not like, oh, you can't coach unless you played X level. Like,
yeah,
it's not like that. So, don't get discouraged if maybe, you're a career tier 4 goalie or whatever. It's not like, I don't know. There's we've seen it with Gretzky's tenure as a coach. Sometimes
yeah,
the high quality play does not translate to high quality coaching. So we'll
exactly.
kind of get into a little bit of that, but I know we touched on when we talked about why we personally became goalie coaches. We kind of did touch on a little bit of how we got started. So maybe we'll just do a quick recap on that.
Yeah,
Like, me personally, I did kind of start dabbling in coaching a little bit when I was playing junior A in Manitoba. One of my mom's friends had a goalie and they lived in the area. So I kind of started mentoring a little bit, doing some coaching a little bit. And then it kind of same thing when I came back home for college when I was playing at Nate, our coach, his kids team, their goalie. There's only one goalie on the team. kind of didn't really have a whole heck of a lot of goalie coaching, so they brought me out to kind of help with that a little bit, and just got the itch for it from there. And another reason why I kind of wanted to start was because I didn't really get any solid goalie coaching until I played junior A as a 17-year-old, and kind of was wanting to give younger kids the opportunity that I wish I had when I was their age instead of waiting till I was 17. So, and then it kind of went from there. I don't know if I've talked about it on the pod. I can't remember, but with True North goaltending specifically, like with actually starting the business side of things on my own, basically, there's a guy that I work with whose kid became a goalie, and we kind of just started talking about that, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a goalie too, and kind of went from there. And he was like, well, do you do any coaching or any sessions? And I'm like, well, I don't, but maybe, I'll start, like, maybe I'll gauge interest on it. And he's like, well, worst case scenario, if nobody else books, like, we can cover the ice cost and whatever. Cause we ended up getting like cheap ice at ridiculous times in the morning on Sundays. um, so yeah, we ended up doing that. I put it out to a couple Facebook groups and ended up making my own private Facebook group that was literally called Nathan Park Goalie Sessions. Had a few, I think it got up to 100 people or something like that. And then it was like, okay, well, let's make this into a legit thing. And that was kind of how True North goaltending was born. And it's just kind of snowballed from there. So that's a brief overview on my journey, anyways. And a couple of years, I think a year later, we brought Connor on board, and it's gone downhill since. No, I'm just kidding. But
I was waiting for that.
yeah, I know I had to throw that in there.
Of
But
course you
no,
did.
that's kind of my journey, I guess, the 100-foot overview. So,
Yeah.
little recap on your situation.
So my situation is a lot different. I was one of those career tier 4 goalies that we were talking about. Um and so like my path was different. I went to, so here in Edmonton there's a school called Vineyard Academy, and so they had one of their programs there for sport was the hockey program. So when I went there in grade 7, the now Edmonton Oilers goalie coach Dustin Schwartz was there as a science teacher, but he was also the goaltending instructor for all of Vimy hockey goalies. So Schwartzy was my goalie coach for up until grade 11 when he got hired by the Oilers. So he obviously left. And so it was around that point in time where I like Bantam WHL draft had come and gone. The NHL draft was quickly approaching, and now I'm still playing tier 4 hockey. So it was at this point now where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to like obviously all roads led to Brearley, but I wanted to I wanted to basically emulate Dustin Schwartz because he was biggest hero of mine. Like I've gotten a lot of goalie coaching, kind of playing, working with guys like ATC and Jamie McKegg and David Rathjen. Those were the two big ones. Where working with Schwartz just kind of clicked something, I guess. And so when he got hired by the Oilers, it kind of sparked an interest just to say like, well, if Mr. Schwartz can get hired by the Oilers doing goalie coaching, why can't I virtually? So then I ended up reaching out to one of the local spring hockey teams in February, I think, and just said like, "Hey, I'm looking to coach goalies. If you have anything, let me know." And then they reached out back. They said, "Yeah." And then that's just kind of snowballed from there. I've worked with numerous goalie academies since then because I started coaching when I was about 14, 15 years old. And then, yeah, in September of 2022 was when Nathan Park desperately reached out and was like, I need people.
Yeah.
And I answered the bell and I came to save the day. And that's kind of how things ended up where they are now with me in True North. But yeah, but like mine, it was just a different patch just because Mr. Schwartz was a huge influence on my life, and obviously still have a lot of respect for him by calling him Mr. Schwartz. And so Um, he was the biggest reason why I became a goalie coach today.
Yeah, I think the desperate plea you're referring to was because of my wife. She was like, "I would like Nathan home more, so you need to go get more coaches." So,
Yeah, no, my wife
um,
is suffering.
yeah, that's okay. They can talk together when we're out and about doing
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
sessions all the time.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, when it comes to starting out as a goalie coach, I honestly like the best way you can get your feet wet is to reach out to a local like minor hockey organization and offer to volunteer with one of their teams.
Yeah.
Because like the thing is, what I've kind of learned is there's a lot of experience that goes into it. Like you learn so much on the job. Like you can take, courses or watch videos and stuff like that. And those can obviously help for sure. But there's a lot of things that go into it that you don't really realize until you start. And the growth that happens personally along your journey of being a goalie coach is crazy. Like my biggest tip to you guys, if you are becoming a goalie coach and you want to become a good goalie coach, the best skill set you can have is being resourceful and open minded. So, constantly learning, constantly evolving. Like the way I coach now is completely different than even 2, 3 years ago. And I expect 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now to be completely different than how it is now. Constantly listening to podcasts, looking at posts from other goalie coaches and goalies and people in the goalie community, and it's like, oh, I never thought about that. Like one of the stories I like to tell was one of our former coaches at True North, Jordan. The first time he came out with me, he um, kind of did a skating drill. Like I let him kind of run things for the skating part. And he did a skating drill with butterfly slides. And he was like, I don't want you to slide to your feet. I want you to slide and stay down because more often than not, when we're sliding, if you have time to slide to your feet, you probably shouldn't have slid anyways. So I was like, hey, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like that's something that I've kind of adapted when we work on slides now. And there's some stuff too that you know, I'm I've kind of evolved. Like I do a lot more situational stuff than I used to, and I want to even still do more than I have before. And I'm trying to be a little less of a perfectionist too when I coach, because that's how I was when I played. Was like, oh, that went in. Why'd it go in? Let's analyze it. Let's see what we can do better. And sometimes there's a time and a place for it for sure, and you have to analyze and break stuff down to get better. But there's some times where it's like, hey, you know what? You made the save. Good job. Let's try again. Let's move on, whatever, right? Like
Right.
so if you guys are open minded, if you guys are constantly learning, constantly evolving, just that's the biggest thing. So get your feet wet, volunteer at some point, like with an organization, or even if you can get on with a goalie coaching company and just say, hey, can I come shadow for a couple sessions, and be okay with not getting paid for it for the first little bit. I mean, you might luck out and you might be able to get paid for it right off the bat, and kudos to you. But the best thing to do for somebody who doesn't have a big name or anything and is just trying to get started is just like Connor did, reach out to however many organizations you can and say, hey, I'm starting out as a goalie coach. I just want to volunteer. And do you have a spot for me to work with one of your teams?
Yeah, I mean, like even with our past guest Ethan, I mean, different situation but similar story,
Yeah.
right? Wanted to stay in the game, reached out to one of the many um, double A, triple A teams here in the city, and eventually ended up getting on as a head coach. Now was promoted to to a head coach. Um, but yeah, no, Nathan raises some great points there. It's just don't hesitate just to reach out and say like, "Hey, I'm looking to get into this," and the more connections that you're able to build, the better. Like when I first started out coaching, the only goalie connection that I had at the time was Edmonton Oaking's goalie coach Curtis Muka. And I was doing just some off and on volunteership with another place, but that kind of wasn't really going anywhere. But by the time that I graduated from playing hockey, I was kind of on my own in that aspect. So I kind of had to learn as I go, and kind of um, the internet was probably my best friend at that point in time, right? Um, and so just you keep going, and then it just eventually, your name starts to get around a little bit. That's how I ended up in kind of coaching the junior programs that I ended up with, along with working with the other organizations as well. But yeah, just don't be afraid to put yourself out there is really the biggest thing. Social media can be your biggest friend, and that's how Nathan and I met, and that's how I've gotten the opportunity to work with some of the other goalie places that I have gotten the chance to work with. And then just yeah, but I don't know where I'm going with the story, but that's kind of the that's kind of just the gist of it there.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the networking side of things. And I do think we mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, but it's honestly like game changing just because the hockey community itself is pretty small and the goalie community is even smaller, right? So
That's right.
like
Yeah.
you like even with us, so you take this podcast as an example, right? You reach out to somebody like Dave Hutchinson from In Goal Magazine, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to come on." And then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, cool." Now, we reach out to Jamie Phillips. He says, "Oh, yeah, cool, I'll come on," and reach out to Marlene Boissonneau,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say just
like,
Marlene, which also, sorry, just to cut you off there.
yeah,
Congratulations to her and PWHL Minnesota Frost on winning the Walter Cup. So
yeah, big
that's pretty
congrats.
cool.
Although I think you did congratulate them, and then like one of the recent episodes. But anyways,
Did we? Oh, I don't remember.
we can double congrats. but but yeah, like it's crazy just where things can lead if you literally just put yourself out there. So just as an example, like um after I was done college, my wife and we like literally probably 2 weeks after we got married, we ended up buying a house and we moved to Leduc, which is, I don't know, what, 10 minutes from the south edge of Edmonton, probably something like that.
uh,
15, somewhere
20,
around there.
15, 20 thereabouts.
Um, but so when I moved to Leduc and we got settled, I literally emailed probably every single program that I could, like the minor hockey, the women's side, the rep side, like the double A, triple A side, and a couple like spring teams. Um, and I mean, this was in like December because we moved in September. And once we got settled, I think it was December when I started reaching out. And nobody got back to me. And I was offering to volunteer, and nobody got back to me except for one team. And they were the spring team called the Junior Riggers. And what ended up happening from that is they grew their program into an HSL program, so the Hockey Super League over here, and moved to doing winter as well. And I think this upcoming season they have 10 or 11 teams. And since that time, like myself slash True North, once it came to be, has provided their goalie development and have kind of grown as they've grown as well. So you just kind of never know when these things or where these things can go. Like you might get involved with the program that's growing and then you can grow with the program, or you might get involved with a coach that you really click with, and maybe the coach moves up to a junior team eventually and they say, "Hey, I need a goalie coach. Do you want to come on board?" Um, all of this stuff, like you never know what it can lead to. and putting yourself out there, being eager to learn, getting the experience that you can. Like that's a big thing when it comes to getting these opportunities. I was even talking to one of Connor's old bosses who's kind of stepped away from running his own show and kind of just wanted to, work for somebody else's show. So he's come on board as one of the coaches with us at True North. But he also does some scouting stuff in the States for some teams in the States. And so I was even talking to him. I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, like, how did you get those opportunities? Like, how did that come by? And he was like, honestly, just people, making a good impression. And, they kind of circle back and bring you on. And, it's literally that simple sometimes is if you can make a good impression to people that end up in the right spot at the right time, it's crazy what can kind of come back to you with that. And I think that's a lot of like, I know people kind of, I don't know, discredit things sometimes because of the quote unquote nepotism that happens in the hockey world. But it's true. People in the hockey world deal with people that they like. And so if people like you, they'll bring you along for their ride, right? So meet who you can, be professional, make good impressions, ask questions, be eager, and you'll be surprised at where you can end up from what seems like the smallest kind of relationship or connection.
Stepping away from that, um, just talk about the just kind of the more development side of things when it comes to starting out. I mean, when you and I fell into this job, we obviously thought we knew everything for the most part. And, just kind of here's how I played. And so, like you had said earlier, just the way that you coach now isn't the same as when you did 3 years ago when you did. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, and so the way that I coach now is the same that when I started coaching year 3. So just like Nathan had said earlier, just don't be afraid to evolve your game as a coach. Be open to learning, new ideas, and like you had said as well, you're touching more on the situational side of things, which I'm following suit on that versus the, for lack of a better term, the technological side of things, with how to track the puck and moving into your saves and all this is just no, here's the situation, here's how we should be playing it type of deal. But the other thing that you need to think about as well when you are starting out is that what's going to set you apart from the other coaches, and that's so minuscule in the grand scheme of things, because like a lot of coaches or a lot of goalie companies in general will say like, well, you should come join us because we focus on this and that, versus goalie coaching company B says, no, you should come join us because we focus on XYZ, right? So again, like we talked about with Ethan when he was on the podcast, is just finding the right fit for you as a coach and joining the program that you want to be part of.
Yeah. Basically, any goalie coach worth their spit or whatever the saying is, I don't even know. Uh, we're all going to be teaching relatively the same stuff because we've gotten to a point in goaltending that, there's not a whole heck of a lot of revolutionary ideas because we've gotten to a point right now that we've, at least with our current knowledge base, we've kind of established a way that works, and it's mostly a matter of just finding the efficiencies and kind of refining the edges. Now, that we could be eating those words like 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now when somebody comes in with some sort of amazing revolutionary idea. But I think some people do get caught up on that, thinking that they need to come in with the next big thing. And to be fair, like, it's all about kind of relationships and what you bring to the table as you, like your personality and the way you approach things, right? So even within an organization like us at True North, there'll be goalies that click better with Connor. There'll be goalies that click better with me. There'll be goalies that click better with some of our other coaches, and they just have that preference, right? But I think if you guys are looking to make an impact as a coach, discussion is probably one of the biggest things to incorporate. Like we I I personally believe anyways that if you can have an environment where you can have that open discussion with your goalies and they can come to you and be like, "Hey, I know you said to do this, but I don't find it's working. I actually like doing this better." And then you can kind of have that discussion and then you can see it. And if you're like, "You know what? This is working for them. Let's let them ride with it, even though it's not necessarily what I like to do or how I coach or how I play. It's working for them," right? Because we've talked about it before. Like, there's going to be a bunch of different ways to get the same thing done. At the end of the day, if we are stopping pucks, that's our job. And yes, there's technically certain efficient ways to do it, but there's even variances to that, right? Like, not everybody holds their glove in the exact same spot. Not everybody has the exact same stance. Not everybody has the exact same skill set. Some guys make it work because they're incredibly good skaters. Some guys make it work because they're incredibly good at reading the play. Some guys make it work because they're incredibly athletic, right? And that's where that kind of adaptability comes into play as a goalie coach. If you can work with your goalie, if you can have that open discussion, if you can be that sounding board to be like, "Hey, what did you see here? Okay, I get that. What if we did this instead, though? Try that out. Oh, okay, you like that? That worked. Okay, let's ride with that," or whatever the case is. I think that's one of the most important things. Developing that relationship with your goalies is what's going to be your personal flavor. That's going to be what sets you apart. And it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're going to have goalies that don't resonate with that, right? Like me personally, I probably over explain things. I over talk sometimes. Some goalies love it. Some goalies probably get sick of hearing me talk. And that's just how it is, right? But I do think if you can actually break things down and help goalies to understand and get that good discussion with them, that's to me where the real magic happens and where you can really make a big impact as a goalie coach.
Yeah. Again, just to kind of just touch on that. I mean, like obviously the way that I explain things probably isn't the cleanest way of doing it. But again, as long as the point gets across at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? When it comes to explaining the drill, like we just did with the drill of the month here. As long as the base idea, the base point gets across, and then you build on that from there. That's the biggest thing for that. But yeah, no, like Nathan said, like we're all teaching relatively the same thing, how to stop pucks, different ways of going about it. And so what separates a good goalie coach from a great goalie coach, like Ian Clark as an example, is just the ability to be able to get the point across to get the job done, no matter which way that looks. Thatcher Demko plays a different way from when I don't even know who's the backup now on Vancouver. Is it Lankinen? It's Lankinen. No?
Yeah, there's Lankinen, there's
Yeah,
She
Lankinen,
Loves, there's
Sheila's, and all those guys.
yeah,
But they all play different styles. And so even though Ian Clark's not the goalie coach for Vancouver anymore, he is one of the most successful goalie coaches on the planet. Mitch Korn, another one of those guys. That's what makes those guys so great. It's just their ability to get the point across to get the job done. And how they explain things is just top notch in that regard,
yeah.
right? So you want to be somebody who can articulate themselves well enough to get the point across. So
Yeah. Well, and kind of like we talked about last week when we were talking about the whole Skinner Schwartz thing, like those guys aren't doing a whole heck of a lot of technical teaching.
Yeah.
It's a lot of small refining and a lot of discussion, right? Like they probably do most of their work in the video room as opposed to like on the ice, right? Like that's kind of where the magic happens. And so I think if you guys are looking to get started in the goalie coaching side of things, or if you guys have and are looking to, grow or expand or whatever the case is, whatever situation you're in, the relationships that you build with your goalies, I think, is the most important way of going about it. Um, and just, you know, being able to change your mind or being able to work with what you're given, because you're going to have some goalies that'll actually teach you a couple things. They'll say, oh, I do it this way and it works for me, and you're like, huh, you know what, I never thought about that, but that actually might be a pretty good way of doing it, right? And then there's also like personal variances too. Like one of our coaches on staff is like 6'6" and I'm 5'10". And if you were coaching us when we played, there would be two completely different approaches, right? He'd be able to get away with being in the RVH a lot earlier than I would, right?
Yeah.
But there's other things too, that go into it. A couple other just points that I want to make, I guess, if you guys are going this route for coaching, and if you do want to be successful, um, as best you can incorporate video. Like that's one thing that we get a lot of positive feedback on. I know listening to the Goalie Science podcast with Jamie Phillips, he talks lots about his video app or whatever that is that he uses being popular and important and all that stuff. And a lot of the goalie coaches at high levels, they're taking game footage, they're going through it, they're videoing goalie sessions and practices and stuff like that. They're going through it. If you can find a way to incorporate video, it's a huge game changer. Um, you can tell a goalie that they're not doing something or they are doing something and they need to change it, and they'll be like, "No, I'm not." And then you're like, "Okay, well, let's go to the video." Video
Yeah.
doesn't lie, and then you pull it up and they're like, "Oh, look at that." And it's like, "Yeah, there you go." Um, the other thing I would say too is go at your own pace. Like when you're starting out, don't try and change the world, I guess. Like learn as much as you're teaching. Take your time to kind of, you know, get a feel for things. Um, we don't have to be going out and being a coach for 6 different teams to start or anything like that. Like, get your feet wet, get some experience under you, grow at your own pace that you're comfortable with. A lot of times with goalie coaching, it's a bit of a side thing for people. So that's totally fine, right? Like it's still a side thing for me, and I own a goalie coaching business. So, you know, it's one of those things that it's a process, much like goaltending itself. It's a process. It's going to take time. You're going to have to build. You're going to have to learn, make mistakes, and grow and all that stuff. So just be patient with it. And again, just take in as much information as you can. That's probably the most important thing. Get a mentor if you can, even if it's not somebody close to you, like in person. If it's somebody that you can like message and maybe hop on the odd Skype call with or something like that.
Oh,
Or I guess not
Skype?
Skype anymore. Yeah,
Wow.
Teams, Zoom, whatever. I don't know. Um, I'm getting into boomer status here now, but but yeah. So, and honestly, if you guys have questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. You can hit up Connor on Instagram at Monday GC. You can email us at goalies at goalie or Goalies at truenorthgoaltending.com. I almost said goalies at goalies. Wow. Long night. But yeah, goalies at truenorthgoaltending.com. You can find us on Instagram, YEG Goalie Coach, or Facebook, True North Goaltending. We'll be happy to try and help or at least steer you in the right direction. But learning from somebody else, having a bit of a mentor, a couple mentors can make a huge difference. But yeah, that's kind of my rant on things that can help make you a better coach.
Make some saves, goalies. We'll see you next time. Jeez, I did my whole outro.
It wasn't meant to be the outro. It was just reach out to us.
Yeah. No, bye. Absolutely. More than happy to chat goaltending. More than happy to share my knowledge and just kind of my experiences with that. Yeah, like Nathan said, for a lot of us, is that like a lot of this is a side thing. A lot of us have 9 to 5s, and so it just unfortunately, but it just it takes its time. Like I said, like I've been doing this for 10 years, and I'm still haven't been able to do this full time just yet. I just wanted to circle back just on the experiences thing quickly. And I just wanted to say is just like, don't hesitate to jump at new experiences. And what I mean by that is, like, I look back on, my time with spring hockey, because I remember at the time, like, the team was called the AAA Junior Oil Kings, and I was so hyped up, about, oh, it's junior, or oh, it's AAA, it's AAA, it's AAA, and then I realized like every spring team is called AAA, so you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then even then, as much as Nathan has knocked on me for it, the tier 2 junior A things, even though to the general hockey population, it may not be considered true junior A at any point, but it was still an experience that got me in the door, got me to where I am now, where I was able to jump from that to junior B, despite other political stuff that's happened. And then, to be able to continue doing what I'm doing and be able to still have the reputation that I have as a coach in the in the hockey community, let alone the goalie community. So just don't hesitate just to jump at new experiences and jump at experiences that, even though it doesn't fall within the norm of hockey, it is still an opportunity that is presenting itself at you. And so don't hesitate really to jump on it, as long as it's going to be a good fit, of course.
So to wrap things up, I'm going to throw 2 questions at you.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I'm still mad at you for that, by the way.
Hey, I could have made it part of our official intro, like for everyone or every episode, but I didn't. So you're welcome.
And that listenership from Vietnam and Bangladesh wouldn't have been gone.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm going to say or ask 2 things. So first off, what do you think has been the biggest thing that has been or helped make you successful? Like, what has been the thing that you have done as a goalie coach that you think has helped you stick around for this long and still be relevant?
Still be relevant.
Teaching pad stacks.
Shout out to that guy, by the way, for putting that in the hot takes episode. I think honestly, just okay. Wait, what was the question again? Sorry, just.
So, what do you think is the thing that has helped you to be successful for this long as a goalie coach?
I think just again, like I said, just like the experiences that I've had. Between coaching in spring hockey to coaching in the HSL to working with all these different goalie coaching companies that I've been a part of, however long, however short. Same thing with teams and coaching my brother's minor hockey team and the junior A team and the junior B teams. And just being able to, or the experiences that I've had with that, and as well as my presence on social media as well, and being able to reach out to guys like you, and to, like, I've had very brief conversations with Pasco Villana. I think those would be probably the practical answers when it comes to my successes with it, and just being able to pick different things from my time with these teams and be able to say, hey, when I was with team A, this is what we were doing here. So let's see if this works with team B and then team C and so on and so forth. And then I got to credit Curtis Muka as well. When he came in my grade 12 year, and he and I were talking a lot, and he and I saw eye to eye on a lot of things. So when I decided to pursue goalie coaching full time in quotations, I was able to heavily lean on him and be able to pick his brain and take up more lunch times than I'd like to admit, and just be able to sit in his office and show him some video of teams that I was working with and goalies that I was working with at the time, and maybe just kind of see things that maybe, and have him see things that maybe I didn't see. So there's multiple factors to that answer, I guess, but I think just the short and sweet answer is just the experiences and the mentors that I've had.
All right. So, second question: what do you think's the biggest mistake you've made as a goalie coach?
That's a good one. I don't want to sound self-centered, but I don't know if there is one. There probably are. I have to I'm not going to deny that there probably is. Can I think of them at the top of my head? No, I can't.
Okay, well, I can interject with the one I
Well, wait, no,
feel.
okay,
Oh,
wait,
okay.
no, sorry. So no, I think the biggest mistake that I've made, um, was jumping the gun too early. And so what I mean by that is, because I was so gung ho on, um, basically saying like, I know everything, you guys don't know anything, or it's like, yeah, like I'm not listening really to what these other goalie companies that I'm saying. And so that's, um so for a story, basically a couple of stories. Second year with the spring hockey team, we brought in these coaches from the Czech Republic because there was a kind of a partnership with them. And so I didn't know that we were bringing in a Czech Republic goalie coach to be like a mentor to me. Nobody really told me that. And so I was heavily dead set against that, more so just because nobody talked to me about it. Um, and then like I've been fired from this is going to sound bad. I've been fired from two goalie coaching companies. Number one, because the guy basically felt threatened by me. That's the way I'm chalking it up to. Um, and then the second one was, this other guy didn't like the way that I coached, or the way that I was doing some coaching, and so instead of talking about it, he just kind of let me go. Um, and so I think those are kind of be my biggest regrets, because in that as well, it's like we were kind of butting heads at that point as well. And so I think just not being open and receptive enough, um, to these guys, and just being, because like it would have been a great opportunity to learn from these Czech Republic guys. But I mean, like the team had to fold because there was some other internal hockey politics at play. But that would have been looking back at it now, that should have been a cool experience. And then I think just, with these other two goalie companies that I was let go from, just, I kind of wish that they ended better that they did. And so I don't know. I don't think that either of them speak negatively now, considering I've outlived both of them. But the point that's like that's a point that I'm being, is just not being open minded enough at that point in time.
Hate to break it to you, Connor. I'm starting to feel threatened by you. So this will be your last episode.
What are you firing me by carrier pigeon, or?
Just by podcast episode,
Oh,
live
perfect.
on the
Live
One
on the
Goalie
podcast, Connor
No,
Monday's last episode.
yeah, no, but I think just to wrap things up, um, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. If this is something you want to pursue and you want to go after, um, start thinking about what your internal coaching philosophy is. Build yourself around that. Like, find your core, find your whatever. Like, this is something that I've just had to put onto paper this, like, over the last month or so, because our organization has gotten a lot bigger in the last year. So I actually had to put it down in a document for everybody to kind of have a reference for. But it's one thing that I found that was cool when doing that is just like, even though so much has changed throughout the years of me coaching, that kind of core philosophy has really stayed pretty much the same. And I think that's a good homework kind of starting point for you guys who are new to coaching or want to get into coaching, or even if you've been coaching for a while, just find yourself kind of the values of coaching and goaltending that you really believe in, and build a philosophy around that that you can really kind of, work on development plans from there, and kind of everything kind of balloons out from there. And I think that's kind of a good piece of homework that you guys are going to hate me for, but this is cool homework. It's not like there's deadlines or anything like that. So
I
that's
was gonna. I was sorry. I was gonna
yeah.
say like it must be kind of cool in an aspect to see just kind of your thoughts kind of down on paper, basically,
Yeah,
and just
it
like especially in the tenure that you've had in doing this, and so being able to basically, for lack of a better term, pen a book to say like, hey, here's my thoughts on just step by step process and the core philosophies, of goaltending at True North Goaltending. Like it must have been cool to see just kind of how just kind of seeing that thought process in front of you on paper.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty awesome. The thing that sucks though is trying to make it structured and like flow and make it so people can understand. And,
Well, that's well, standard
but
operating procedures in a nutshell. Even the one that
yeah,
I run with at work is all over the place. But
yeah, but no, it's definitely incredibly rewarding. It's tough. Like, just like when you're playing, it's a grind when you're coaching. Like, the season is long, especially if you're really in the thick of it and you're doing a lot of teams and programs and whatever. But for sure, it's super rewarding. It's cool to see, the feedback you get from goalies, from parents, from coaches. And the nice thing about being a goalie coach, to be honest, is you mostly avoid a lot of the flack that regular coaches do, because a lot of times people are just happy that there's a goalie guy out there or girl, goalie girl.
yeah,
But
goalie person.
it's yeah, it's an awesome experience. If you guys have the opportunity to go for it, do it. It's I don't know how to explain it. I've done some cool things in my playing career, and it's still something that I get to learn new things every day. I get to do something that I enjoy doing. It's not really a job. I mean, it can feel like it some days, but more often than not, especially compared to the day job, it's it's a
Yeah,
lot more rewarding and cool to see how things can go. Because yeah, if you had told, I don't know, how long have I been doing this now? 8 years ish. If you had told me 8 years ago that I would have had a goalie coaching company that's, working with multiple organizations, going basically halfway around a province, because we do stuff up north in Alberta too, and kind of gotten the experiences and the opportunities that I have personally and we have as an organization, it's pretty cool. So that could be you guys in a couple of years too, if you really dedicate the time and effort to getting better, to growing, to learning, and to really, like I said earlier, develop those relationships with your goalies.
yeah. I won't add on any more to that. Just yeah, you summed it up pretty well. So I won't. I don't have anything to add on to that.
Then sign us off.
Gladly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a fun one going down memory lane here today at the DIY Goalie podcast presented by True North Goaltending. You can follow us on your favorite social media platforms. No, I'm thinking of the podcasting side of things. You can follow us on your favorite social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. All at True North Goaltending, because we are making that switch over, except on Instagram because we like to be different. It is YEG Goalie Coach. You can follow myself over on Instagram at MondayGC. If you are listening over on your favorite podcasting platforms, first of all, thank you for that. Make sure you share that with a friend. And if you are a new listener, make sure you hit the follow button, whether it be on Apple, iHeart, or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasting platform. If you are watching over on the YouTube side of things, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And if you are a returning viewer, make sure you hit that thumbs up and save it to your watch later playlists or whatever it is. The more goalies that we are able to bring into this little community of ours, the better. We do have some open spots, I think, for our summer camp happening later in August, late
Yeah,
July,
we've got
late
spots
August.
still on both.
We still have spots open on both. So if you are in the Edmonton area and would like to come check us out for a 5-day or 3-day camp, make sure you head on over to TrueNorthGoaltending.com, as we are still making our transition over from the DIY goalie with all of our content there. Go check out TrueNorthGoaltending.com. We got a lot of cool stuff happening over there. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to us at goalies@TrueNorthGoaltending.com. Make some saves, goalies. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.